Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. Locking my daughter out on the porch seemed like a great way to teach a lesson about curfew. By the third search party, it was all I could think about. I search for things people are too scared to believe in. Part 3, 1 of 2. By Cole Blaze K. A quick heads up before the story starts. You do not need to watch part 1 or 2 or even the side story to get what's going on in this part. I do have a playlist for easy find. It's under Cole Blaze K, as well as it will be in the description box and the eye icon as well. Now, with all that being said, I do hope you enjoy the story, and let's get started.
You and I have a lot of work to do.
Echoed through my mind as I sat inside my new home, cigarette in one hand, coffee in the other, just trying to get some semblance of normalcy, even if it was just for a day. After everything I witnessed and went through again, I needed a change. I sold my truck along with some other items and bought a decently sized van. I've been remodeling it for the last few months to make it more viable and a cheaper home, especially if I wanted to continue my work. Speaking of work, I know I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and I'm sorry for that. I am alive though, so you can stop worrying. Ever since what went down in the town with Greg and Mark, I still trying to wrap my head around it. The entity came into our world, fully came in, and I was the one that helped. But that's not what bothers me the most. After he killed that creature, he reattached its head and put what looked like a seed in the mouth. It then looked at me and just vanished. What was the point of saying we have work to do if it was just going to leave? Ever since he crossed the threshold, my night terrors have pretty much ceased. Very rarely do I have one, and if I do, it's manageable. After shaking hands with it, I got a burn on my wrist in the shape of a hand. In my dreams, it was all black and the entity came crawling out of it. But that's enough of that. Things are better, and I want to share some things with you. I've been asked a couple times to do so, and I thought now would be the best time to talk about the previous cases. I'm on break in a national park that is just beautiful and have ample time to sort through files. Moving kind of makes you go through your old things or find forgotten things. So when I started rereading old cases, I thought I should share them with you. A few are unsolved and some are still pending, but I thought talking about them would maybe shed some light, hopefully moving towards solving one of them. The first case I have for you is the Red Door. Case log 04, location Kansas, Wichita. As I finished up an old case, I made my way through Wichita to see a couple of things there. I'm a sucker for sightseeing. After my first day there, I was walking out of a coffee shop and I saw a frantic man handing out flyers. He handed one to me and I kept walking, thinking nothing of it. Finally, after coming to a crosswalk and having to wait, I examined it. There was a picture of a woman and a red door behind her. On the top of the page read, "Have you seen this woman?" And at the bottom it read, "Have you seen this door in your dreams? If so, call." Curiosity took over, and I caught myself walking back towards the man. He seemed tired and disheveled, like he hadn't slept or cleaned himself for days. His clothes were wrinkly and his hair was greasy. Noticing another passerby, he reached his flyers out to them, and they just swerved out of the way. Everyone acted as though he wasn't there. He cried and fell to his knees, then began talking to himself. No wonder no one took him seriously. I was probably the first to take the flyer. I approached the man and squatted down beside him.
Here to call me crazy and shove me down some more?
He said, wiping away tears.
No. I'm here to ask you about your flyer.
I replied, reaching out a hand to help pick him up. We sat down at a table and talked for over an hour about what occurred. Apparently, he dreamwalked with his girlfriend to see this supposed red door. He said he was seeing it almost every night. The first couple of attempts didn't work, but the fourth one did. When they finally saw it, she decided to go into it. Before he was able to follow, the door slammed and he woke up in a pile of sweat. His girlfriend was nowhere to be seen. It was as though she vanished without a trace. He's been looking for her ever since, trying to see the door again, but it's been to no avail. Then nightmares began and he stopped sleeping. He wanted to dreamwalk with me, but I wasn't able to help. Dreamwalking is a dangerous thing, and I've been told too many times about the power of dreams. I gave him the information for Josh, a specialist I know, and went on my way. A couple of weeks later, Josh called to talk to me about the case. He said he and the man began their dreamwalking session and came across the door. Josh knew what it was instantly. The man had lied and said he needed to find his inner spirit in order to trick Josh into doing it. The red door has been a dream phenomenon for a while, and it's always been said to avoid it. Josh tried to stop the man, but he burst through the door and was gone. When Josh awoke, the man was gone and he hadn't been seen or heard from since. Case log 04, The Red Door, unsolved. The next case was one that I received a lot of questions about, the Wendigo, or at least that's what I think it was. Case log 07, Clean Bones, location Black Hills, South Dakota. I had no intentions of stopping in Spearfish, South Dakota, but when you need gas, you need gas. While filling my tank, I noticed a flyer up on a pole by the pump. Inspecting it, I noticed it was for a girl who had gone missing while camping. Underneath hers was another one for a guy who had gone missing in the same conditions. I put two and two together and figured they must have been camping together. I took one of the number slips and gave it a call, setting up a time to speak with the parents. Audio transcript, case log 07, location South Dakota.
You don't mind that I record?
Not at all, as long as it helps find our daughter and her friend.
So, what is it that you can tell me about the location they went to?
As far as I know and what she told me, they were going to Iron Creek Trail. It's a few miles past Bridalveil Falls. You should see the bridge and a pull-off section. That's one of the trails she frequented the most. It is unmarked though, but she usually camped out just a few miles in. I'm scared though, because this isn't the first person to go missing around here. There have been 3 others. They had just found the shin bone of the first person missing a few days ago, saying it was a wild animal or something. The thing is, the bone was completely clean, as though something was nibbling on it for days.
Just the bone? And you said it was completely clean?
Clean except for a little chunk of flesh in a groove, just enough to identify the person.
Man was a convict, so he won't be missed.
Joseph, that is a terrible thing to say. A life is a life no matter the sin. Sorry for his intrusion, but some people are saying it might be something supernatural, like a...
Oh, don't go spouting off that horse shit. There's nothing supernatural about it. I think the man's got enough information now. Go find our daughter and don't come back until you do.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate your info and I'll be in touch.
Audio transcript case log 07 end. 5 people missing from the area all around Black Hills is going to be hard to pinpoint. At least I have some okay amount of information to go off of to find the 4th and 5th missing. First missing, deceased most likely with the whole leg bone showing up. That or some forged records happened. I went around the surrounding towns first to find info on the 2nd and 3rd missing. Couldn't find anything on the 2nd, but the 3rd was interesting. The sister of the 2nd didn't want to be interviewed. She just told me her brother went missing around Barnes Canyon. On my 2nd day investigating, the 3rd missing person was found in the middle of Cold Brook Canyon. At least, the rest of him was. Spanning in a 1/4 mile radius with multiple bones picked clean in his head right on the trail, as if someone wanted it to be found. I tried interviewing one of the rangers who were on the scene. They declined and told me to leave it to them. Of course, I'm not going to. But some more information would help. This leads me to the biggest worry I have. Either the 2nd body has yet to be found, or has already been consumed, or is next dinner before the daughter and her friend. So, no more talking to people. Time to get my hiking boots on and have a little walk. While searching around the trail, a sudden fear came over me. The fear of walking into the unknown and having no idea what you're getting yourself into. Surprising, right? Coming from a person who just started looking into the unknown. But this is a feeling that I have gotten used to. About 3/4 of a mile in, I thought I saw someone standing behind a tree way off in the distance. The thing was, they didn't have any distinguishing features. They looked like they were in a black morph suit, but it was getting dark and there was quite a bit of trees. So, against my better judgment, I began to make my way to them. A couple steps in, I noticed a jacket on the ground. It was a little beat up and had some blood on it. Kneeling down to inspect it some more, I heard a voice calling out. Turning around, I noticed it was one of the rangers I tried to talk to at the last crime scene. Audio transcript case log 07. Location, Iron Creek Trail.
What are you doing out here?
You know, just going for a little hike.
Really? You just happen to be going for a little hike where 2 people went missing? One of them whose parents you've talked to. I told you to stop investigating and leave it to us. But you gave me a feeling that you weren't going to listen. So I followed you. And, well, looks like I was right.
Silence goes over the recording as we both are standing there. Tension in the air rose, and then died as soon as I slightly moved my arm and pointed to the jacket.
What's that?
The girl's jacket. Looks like your department did need my help.
Whatever you say. We would have found it once we set the dogs loose.
And when was that supposed to...
I cut myself off as I noticed a broken, bloody branch about 4 feet away. The crunching of the leaves came through until I stopped and knelt down.
They went this way.
How do you know?
I used to do quite a bit of tracking when I hunted. Then it got a little better once I began looking into these things that I was investigating. You'd be surprised how many people go missing and what's really out there.
You really believe in all that nonsense? Aliens, cryptids, Nessie, Bigfoot, all that jibber-jabber.
Some of it, yes. Sometimes it's nothing but a psychopath or a cult, but other times there's no other explanation.
Help! Someone, please! Help!
The voice sounded different. It was too off. It was even more apparent in the recording.
It came from this way! Move, now!
Wait! Stop! Hold on, just a second.
I grabbed his arm to make him stop.
Help! Someone, please! Help!
What the fuck are you doing? They need our help!
That sounded exactly the same as the first time. Can't you tell? It sounds off too. just listen.
Silence filled the recording for about 30 seconds until it was broken.
Help! Someone, please, help!
See? It sounds exactly the same. It's also coming from the south. The tracks are heading east. Something doesn't want us going this way.
I don't believe you. You're crazy. Someone is out there and needs our help.
Okay, listen. If they're that way, the tracks will begin to head that way. So let's just keep following them until we come across something, okay?
Fuck. Fine. Better know what you're doing, Cryptid Hunter.
Audio transcript case log 07, end. I noted down that nickname in case I ever wanted to make business cards. Also, to have something to look forward to if I survive the upcoming interaction. After about 15 more minutes of walking, we stumbled upon an alcove. Towards the end, an entrance to a cave could be barely seen. It was just about nightfall now, and the forest was getting a lot darker. Mark and I both looked at each other, saying, "You go first," with our eyes. Finally, getting enough courage, I pulled a flare out of my bag and struck it. A bright incandescent red fled over and illuminated the area around us before dying down a bit.
You do know I have a flashlight, right?
Mark said with a snarky tone.
I know, but this fills the whole area. Not just a small beam. Also, red is a lot less hard on the eyes than white light.
I replied, entering the mouth of the cave.
Fair point.
He replied, following behind. Walking through the cave felt as though we were walking through a portal to hell. The deep red light mixed with the small reflections of the cave wall felt almost otherworldly, as if we were traveling a place we weren't supposed to be. After a few more minutes, the smell of rot hit my nose like a freight train, almost making me gag.
What the fuck is that?
Mark said while gagging into his hand.
I don't know. But it means we're getting closer.
I replied, dropping the flare and striking a new one.
I don't think we should be here. This feels like an animal den. What if it comes back?
Mark and I both stopped and stared in silence. On the ground, a few feet in front of us, was a pile of dead bodies. Deer, coyotes, rabbits, and a mountain lion were all laying there slowly decaying.
Safe to say it's not coming back, but I'm more worried about whatever did this.
I said, slowly walking around the pile. Mark just gagged and stayed silent until we hit a partially lit opening. The opening was massive and a few dimly lit candles were strewed around. It was a much larger area than I had thought. We were only able to see a few feet in and a couple of other spots as the flare was dying down and the candles were afar. Dropping the flare and getting ready to strike a new one, Mark stomped it out and pushed me into the crack in the wall. Unable to say anything because of his hand over my mouth, he quietly said,
Shut the fuck up. I heard something.
With that, the noise of a claw scraping on the rocks passed by. Standing there in the dark, not knowing what to do, I heard a girl crying in the opening. It was unintelligible, just a lot of sobbing and half words. The sounds of something heavily breathing was coming through the opening now. Then came the sounds of what I could only guess were tendons and muscles being ripped. After that was done, we could hear what sounded like someone eating a pie with no hands and an open mouth. Except that this was no normal pie. It was guttural sitting there listening to the chomping and chewing. Then a final snap and a sucking sound ended the symphony of grotesque noises. The girl was crying louder now, asking and begging.
Why? Oh no! Why?
Through sobs, Suddenly, there was a scream followed by cracks and groans, and then a man spoke. Audio transcript case log 07. Location, cave system. Cracks and groans with sobs in the background.
Why are you doing this?
Why? Simple. Hunger. Sleeping. Long sleep. Need food.
Where's John? What did you do to my boyfriend?
A dragging noise followed by a loud, wet thump. Then the girl began screaming.
That's it. I can't wait anymore. Hey! Over here, motherfucker!
No, stop! God damn it!
Audio transcript case log 07. End. The man, creature, turned around to see Mark and I at the entrance of the opening. He was barely visible, but you can tell it was scantily clothed and covered in blood. Striking a flare, the area lit up and the thing could be fully seen. Its face was bloody and its jaw was slacked open with a piece of meat hanging out. The thing hissed at the flame and crouched down, almost in a lunging position. Mark began to move to the right and I followed suit. Illuminating more of the area, we could see bones and torn clothes strewn around leading up to the girl. In front of her feet was the dead, mutilated body of the boy she went with. At least, what was left of him.
Gonna be okay. We're gonna get you out of here.
Mark said, crouching down by the girl. Her head was between her knees and she was sobbing inconsolably. The thing was too close for comfort, slowly crawling on all fours back and forth, almost as though trying to figure out the best method of attack. It was growling and hissing, mainly keeping its eye on the flare.
Mark, I could really use some help.
I said, trying to figure out a solution to this problem. I was ignored though. He was still trying to calm the girl. The flare's light was dimming, and the thing was becoming more confident now, inching closer as the flame began shrinking. Putting two and two together, I threw the flare at the right and grabbed another to strike. Surprisingly, my throw was a lot more accurate than anticipated, hitting it in the face. What came next was the most horrific and guttural scream I had ever heard. It sounded as though 1,000 mountain lions were screaming their last screams before death. I really pissed it off now. It lunged towards me, no longer caring about the flare in my hand. Rage was the only thing fueling it now. Doing the only thing I could think of, I dove towards its feet as it lunged. My timing was not as precise as I thought, and the feeling of razors cutting me shot across my back. Still rolling from the dive, I noticed it slide and hit the side of the cave wall, releasing another loud shriek. Then loud bangs began echoing as I noticed Mark unloading his handgun into the creature. It was distracted now, and I had to come up with a quick plan. The flare was a few feet away, and in its ever-dimming red light, I noticed a bottle of lighter fluid. It must have come from a backpack that had been ripped open from the thing's nails. Thinking quickly, I began fast crawling towards the bottle, snatching it up before my attention was drawn away. Looking up, I saw Mark had backed away in an opening of the cave wall. The creature was hacking and slashing away at the wall, trying to make its way closer to him, letting out a hellish scream and flinging rock debris all over. Gaining control of myself, I quickly got up and ran towards the creature, opening the bottle of lighter fluid. Gripping it as hard as I could, I began spraying the liquid in X formation as though I was swinging katana. The creature seemed to have taken notice of me the second I was done spraying it. The thing lunged at me, slashing its claws towards my torso as I fell back. I landed in something lukewarm and sticky. Confused as to what it was, I had to focus on the task at hand. the creature hovering over me. It was just watching me, cocking its head from side to side, as though it was meticulously figuring out the best way to dismember and eat me. Trying to crab walk away, I figured out what it was that I tripped on. It was the body of the girl's boyfriend laying there lifeless, and as pale as a ghost. Even in the dim-lit area, I could see the fear that was frozen on his face. The creature was still standing there watching me, breathing heavily in and out, in and out. Then it finally took a step towards me as his jaw sliked open and drool began to pool out. I felt my hand touch something as the creature was going down on all fours. Gripping it, I heard Mark begin to scream and charge the creature with a pocket knife. An ill attempt, though, as the creature backhanded him, swatting him away like a fly. As much of a failure that was, it gave me enough time to figure out what was in my hand. It was one of my flares, and an unlit one at that. Nervously, I untwisted the cap and prepared myself mentally for what was to come. Striking it caused the monstrous head to snap towards me, sounding like a cacophony of bones cracking. It flung itself towards me as I threw the flare at it, making it and the flare connect mid-air. Time seemed to have slowed down as the creature's body ignited into a fury of inferno, almost hitting me. The smell of death, burning flesh and hair filled the air as the creature began frantically flinging itself around in hopes of putting out the fire. It was a futile attempt. The damage was already done. The thing fell to its knees, laying out a final hellish screech before slumping to the ground, lying there lifeless, slowly burning away until it will become nothing but ash and bones. Not much more can be said about the whole affair. I do not want to bore you with a bunch more notes about what was in the cave. Mark, the girl, and I got out with minor injuries. I had a few slashes on my back and one on my chest. Mark had a dislocated shoulder and a minor concussion. Then the girl only had a couple of minor scratches and bruises. Multiple bodies and bones were found at the site, but no more of the information was disclosed to me. Mark and I still keep in touch from time to time. He retired from being a ranger, and the girl just got married this year. But Mark and I were invited. It was a beautiful ceremony, and the whole affair of how we met was never brought up. To be continued next week. When the Coast Guard's cutter finally located the missing MV Deep Harvest, they found no crew members on her upper decks, and the words, "Don't eat it," scrawled on several bulkheads. They found the mangled remains of the crew in the cargo hold, surrounding a huge banquet of untouched luxury foods, which all the seamen agreed was starting to look very tasty. And here's the credits for everyone who helped me bring this story to life, in order of appearance. The entity was played by Horror on the Rocks. It was narrated by me, 242. The street guy was played by Count Julius. Main character was played by Grim Reaper's Nightmare. The mother of the missing daughter was played by the Queen of Panic. Joseph was played by Hollow. The male cop, Mark, was played by Lucid Lupus. Unknown female was played by Dark Little Voices Decay. The unknown creature was played by Phoenix Fire. And the missing girl was played by Serpent Mythos. Thank you everyone for lending me your voices, and please check them out in the description box / show notes. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I'd like to thank the writers who let me read their stories this evening. The 2-sentence horrors and the main feast, the main story as well. And of course, I'd like to thank the narrators who lent me their voices to bring this story to life. Without you guys, this story just wouldn't be the same, and it wouldn't have the same oomph. Trust me, I've tried to do a few stories without taking other narrators, and it just doesn't feel the same. Sometimes you just need another voice to scream out into the void with. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. If you're on the podcast and listening on a platform that allows it, please leave me a review. And if you're specifically on Spotify, I have questions that you can answer if you like. As always, please share this with anyone who might enjoy it. It really helps quite a bit. If you'd like to help in other ways, I do have Patreon and memberships, both on YouTube and on the podcast. If you'd like to do a one-time donation/tip, I do have PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee as well. All the links, including the ones to my socials and websites and anything else, including those lovely narrators who lent me their voices, are down in the description box/show notes for you guys. But as always, thank you for watching and listening. It always has and always will mean the world to me. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.